they've still done it within the allocated time, and they'll get him back out now as we watch still Jamie Campbell-Walter with Christian Hohenadel. You're on board with Hohenadel right behind him, and these guys trying to gain a position if possible as we're into the second half of this race now. And
it closes the gap a little bit under the braking, but doesn't quite sometimes have the traction. It seems a little bit loose at the moment.
Look at how Westbrook has caught. He's caught and he's going for the lead. Westbrook, where did he get all that pace from?
Well, he's out. His outlap was fantastic. It's the fastest lap maybe of the race. I'm not sure it was the fastest lap. Yes, it was. It was the fastest lap of the race.
Lucas Luhr could hardly believe the fact that Westbrook was right on Michael Krum as they came over the line. Look at this. Look at this. Michael Krum, who had a big lead coming out of the pits. Westbrook so nearly had him. In fact, he was ahead of him across the line there. He recorded as being in front of the Michael Krum car as they came over the line. But, of course, Krum had the inside line turning into turn one. Westbrook had to slot in behind him again.
Sure.
But my goodness,
it's closed that gap down wonderfully. Well, this is going to be interesting now, because obviously the pressure on Michael to keep in front, but he can see that Richard has absolutely done a storming first lap. So now it's going to be down to who can.
Well, this is proper
outside
racing.
The other one, absolutely.
Proper racing between the two Nissans.
Now Michael's going to be tight there, so really it's now to Richard if he can get drive out of this corner to get a chance. He doesn't seem maybe he's not quite got enough here, but all he's got to do is just keep that pressure on Michael, because you never know. He may just make him push himself into a mistake. You're not going to do it there, Richard. You're going to show him everything.
Not really possible into seeing the braking such a short distance, but look at how the Aston is catching. You know, I don't think Michael Krum's very happy on these tyres or something, because he's just not able to lap at the pace you might have expected. The Aston is getting closer in behind as well. That is Thomas Enger behind them. Oh, and Richard's there a little bit deeper in. Maybe that's just his line. He does have a slightly different line on some of these corners on the latter part of the lap, we notice.
Yeah, especially on this next left.
Yeah. So let's watch him here. It's nerve-wracking stuff for Peter Dumbreck, for the rest of the crew. Very close a moment ago. Krum now seems to sort of be settling into his rhythm a little bit more, but look how Thomas Enger kicks the back end of the Aston out as he comes over, and that is the 1-2-3 at the moment. Krum leads, Westbrook second, Enger in third. Then there's a little bit of a gap back to fourth, which is Stefan Mucker in his Aston, Makovicky fifth, and a good pit stop there, the number 41 Ford. Makovicky fifth, Jamie Campbell-Walter sixth, Hohenadel seventh, and then the Engelbert Rossi Corvette next up. So Darren's car is currently running in fourth. You're on board the third place car, though, of Thomas Enger as he chases down these two Nissans. So similar to the first part of the race when it was Alex Muller in the car, Thomas now finds himself chasing two Nissan GTRs.
Absolutely, this is typical Thomas. This is when he sort of sees a chance, and he's going to try and seize that chance of getting past that 22 Nissan in front of him. Not going to be easy for him. We've seen that the Nissan seems to be very stable. You can see Thomas in that in-ball fighting the steering wheel, so he's having to work very hard to be able to hang on to the back of him. But as we see again, there seems to be a little gap sort of appearing again.
It does, that's right. So are things beginning to settle down here? Is it the fact that you have to go on the attack, as Westbrook did? He set the fastest lap of the race earlier on. Take a look at the pit stop times here, Johnny. Let's just see. Fastest was the number 23 car, which is what we thought. 3 seconds faster. The Michael Krum Lucas Luhr car was 3 seconds faster than the Westbrook Dumbreck car. That's how they managed to swap them around. Well, as they swap them around, I mean, they just went for it, and they came out with a quicker time for the 23 car. 53 seems pretty standard for some of the others. 54 for the Aston, number 8 young driver team. So interesting figures there.
Yeah, well, it's a bit surprising. He looked a bit slow. I think I said that when the wheels went down on that 23, it just seemed to shoot out of the pits. Where we saw, and I think I saw your reaction, was when Richard left, it took a bit of time to pop out. But we see the Aston Martin actually did the quickest.
Yeah, further down, the number 4 Hex's car is Hex's as ever.
Again, yes.
Yep, they've got their car up in 7th at the moment, but a 49-second stop. That was, I think, the best we've seen so far. Brilliant effort. On board with Thomas Enger then, still in 3rd place. This is the qualifying race, remember, so they need to still get these cars to the finish. They will start the championship race wherever they finish this one. Enger would still be pretty happy with the 3rd place. It's where he started this qualifying race today. and if he could find just a bit more performance tomorrow, perhaps he could put those Nissans under a bit more threat. But certainly at the moment, just seeing the interestingly, I've just seen the Vanina X Christopher Nygaard car going past me in pit lane, and although it sort of didn't do anything at the start of the race, they have sent the car back out again, so obviously they've been sorting a mechanical problem, I should think, on that one. Into the pits there is the number 37 car. Now what's that about? They must have a problem. That is Nicky Pastorelli, and it all looks a bit slow and lazy, and clearly the winner last time out at Navarra is out of this race early on with 22.5 minutes still remaining in the qualifying race, and that will mean start of the back of the grid for tomorrow's championship race for Pastorelli and Schweger. On board with Westbrook. So after that initial challenge, Johnny, as you say, that gap has just stabilised now.
It's certainly, well, it's actually extended, hasn't it, really?
Yeah.
I think, but it's stabilised, extended by the look of it. It just doesn't seem to be quite having the pace, but maybe he's being a little bit shrewd. Maybe he's just thinking, I'm going to try and save my tyres a little bit and do a real hard push in the latter part of this race now. Maybe that would be a clever move. If it's a possible, we'll have to wait and see. But
hang on. Actually, we're just going to go down and hear from. I think we're going to get a chance to hear from Nicky Pastorelli, who's just come into the pits. We saw him talking to Mark Bassing. Let's hear what's gone wrong.
Nicky, unfortunately, the race is over. Can you tell us what's happened?
Yeah, it's too bad. We have an engine failure. We don't know exactly what failed on the engine. So we lost a lot of power. We were really slow, so we decided to commit not to completely blow up the engine and try to solve it for tomorrow.
Thank you.
So disappointing then for the guys that won last time in Navarra, but hopefully they can get that car fixed for tomorrow's race. Yeah, just wondered whether Westbrook, who's just done a great middle sector again, by the way, just wondered whether he put so much effort into catching that the leader, having seen him come out, that it fired him up so much that maybe he took the best out of the tyres. But having said that, he's still lapping very quickly at the moment.
Yeah, well, I think when he got close enough, he could sort of probably, well, maybe I'm only reading into it, maybe he could feel that he didn't quite have enough. The 38 nearly runs a bit wide there into turn one, but maybe Richard just sort of thinks, well, maybe I've just got to be very clever and sort of save my tyres, because they do go off quite, or can go off quite abruptly at some point in the race, and then he might just sort of think, right, well, I know I can be quick, and then I'll try and do a big push near the end of the race. But Michael Krum has done the fastest lap on lap 16 as well. So at the end of the day, it seems as if Michael's car is pretty much hooked up. They're doing very, very similar times within is that a couple of hundredths of a second, 300th of a second. So it's close, very, very close, and it's just going to be down to that consistency.
Now looking at Jamie Campbell-Walter behind Fred McAvicky here, on board the Nissan with Jamie. Oh, and the Ford was well over the curve there.
Just a bit.
Yeah, did he lose traction? Did he lose some performance?
I would say so.
And it looks as though Jamie Campbell-Walter's going to try and do what Warren Hughes did last year and go around the outside at Scene. And yes, he does. Lovely. Oh, he loves that manoeuvre. He'll be real pleased with that, because Warren did that beautifully last year and Jamie was determined to do him back. Well, he did some great moves himself into turn one, did Jamie, last year, but he'll love that, going around the outside into Scene.
It's great how it's really nice to see how Jamie has matured over the last couple of years. With the races now, he really does do some fantastic overtaking moves, never gives up, and always is in sort of in the mix.
Yeah, no, top professional is Jamie, former FIA GT champion, but really it's lovely to see him holding his own in a team of heavyweights, if you like, in that Nissan outfit, and showing what he can do. And he's always got himself in front of the Ford there. He was a touch wide. It's given the Ford a bit of hope that it might be able to challenge back. Fred McAvicky will never give up. He's a real hard racer, always good to watch, but I think the Nissan's just got slightly too strong an engine for the Ford to stay in touch.
Yeah, well, that's the problem. The Ford does struggle on these straights, and you need to be close and be able to follow the car in front and be able to slip by.
Look at the top speeds recorded by the various different marks, and it is Nissan 123 with a 258.4 kilometres an hour, rather, I should say, for nearly the 260 kilometre an hour mark. But the fastest thing in a straight line, no doubt about it, is the Nissan. Despite punching a bigger hole in the air than something like this Ford, it still manages to get the highest top speed, so just shows you how much power it's got.
Yeah, that as well, but obviously it does come off the corners very well as well, so it's able to sort of utilise that big push that it needs to carry the speed then down the straight.
And if you look at the Ford, they're down at 251 kilometres an hour. That gives you an idea what they're up against to a certain extent. The Lamborghinis, look, 251, 250, so giving away quite a lot in terms of kilometres an hour to some of those mid-engined cars, which of course have inherently perhaps slightly better balance, but don't have quite that same straight line speed. Remember, these cars are all balanced. A balance of performance is measured and given to each of the car makes. Maybe it's air restrictors, maybe it's the weight of the car, but they are all balanced to try and make the field as competitive as possible. It's not always running in the same form as on the road. Now, what was this? On board with Enger. Oh, Thomas! What are you doing?
It was just a little bit of a slide on the entry, basically. It slid at the back. This is possibly where the tyres are going. What you tend to do as a driver, you adjust the brake balance to try and sort of move it off of the rear to the front to try and help it. But that looked as if it just got a little bit loose under braking. I think he actually had that in the qualifying, wasn't it? Was it the qualifying we saw?
He spun in the qualifying,
That's
but
right.
he managed to hold it this time.
But he did a similar thing in exactly the same corner. So obviously that's one part of it where the rear end of the tyres are just losing that little edge that you need to keep it stable.
Yeah, he was using all these rally driver reactions, I think, on that one, with armfuls of lock to sort it out. Now, back on board with Fred Makovicky. Lovely view from the Ford GT and this beautiful blue sky and sunshine that we're enjoying here at Paul Ricard. Glorious conditions. Is a faint chance of rain tomorrow, looking at your forecast earlier on, Johnny, but who knows?
Thanks for that.
Yeah, well, you know, could make life quite interesting here, but wait and see. We could be on for another beautiful day. But certainly Jamie Campbell-Walter holding on to 5th place here. Let's go and hear from Mark Basseng now.
Mark, it looks like 38 is losing pace. Is it possible that they have the same issues?
It's not the same issue, but it's also an issue with the engine, definitely. Also, we're losing power, and the sounds not really good, not so bad like 37 did, but he has also a bigger problem with the gearbox at the moment, so looks not really good for us at the moment.
Thank you, Mark.
Well, the gearbox is the Achilles heel of the Lamborghini, and that's been the case throughout the season, but they obviously got double problems. There it is. It's running in 9th, which would be okay. I think they'd actually be fairly happy with a 9th place finish, bearing in mind they're not going to be as quick here. It would still put them in 9th on the grid, but will it last the distance? That's the question.
Well, that is definitely the question, and it's, as you said, the gearbox is always the issue. Maybe the gearbox has been an issue with the engine as well, if it's not quite shifting when it should, or maybe it's shifting when it shouldn't, and that just is giving the engine a little bit of a hard time and just doing a bit of damage, possibly inside.
So on board the number 4 Aston Martin here, it's Christian Hohenadel. They're in the car with Andrea Piccini. They had a great pit stop, the fastest pit stop of anybody, but they're running in 7th place behind Fred Makovicky in the Ford and, of course, the Nissan ahead of Jamie Campbell-Walter. Very little to choose between these 3 cars by the look of it at the moment. And with 15 minutes to go, and the cars in this second stint have been pushed hard throughout. It's not like they had a rest, as the first guys did with the safety car. These tyres have been pushed right from the outlet at absolutely flat-out pace, and Makovicky again closing up, but not on the straight. He can close up through the corners, but then he's got the problem of trying to get alongside the Nissan.
Yeah, well, this is where the Nissan maybe this is this sort of tyre situation. Although he's got the speed down the straight, struggling a little bit through the corners, and we know the Ford is very light on its tyres, but he can't pass, or can't be in the right position where he needs to be, which is close up as you go into the braking area, because he's not quick enough down the straight. So it's going to be a very, very hard race for him, or maybe a long 14 minutes we've got left.
Yeah, that's right, for him it could be, but it makes it entertaining for us, doesn't it? With the 3 cars very close together, battling for 5th place here, 5th, 6th and 7th. As up front, let me just tell you that Michael Krum's advantage is still pretty narrow, but it's 2 seconds over Richard Westbrook in 2nd place. Thomas Enger is still in 3rd. Stefan Mucker is in 4th. It's still Nissan 1-2. There's a move up the inside.
Oh, that was close.
That was close. Christian Hohenadel having a real go up the inside to get past Makovicky. Didn't happen. So just to come back, it's 2 Nissans, 2 Astons, another Nissan of Campbell-Walter 5th. Then the Ford of Makovicky 6th. 7th, well, nearly 6th a moment ago, was Hohenadel. Engelbert in the other Corvette is running 8th. Winkelhock is 9th. And Katzberg in the Nissan is in 10th place. Max Martin, teammate of Fred Makovicky. I wonder what he makes of this battle.
Max, what would you do to take the Nissan if you can't get him on the straight line?
I think it's quite nearly impossible for us in the straight. We have too much engine, so for us it's impossible to pass. when we are alone, we have a good car, we can go good lap times, but when we are behind somebody, it's impossible for us.
Thank you.
So, a slightly resigned expression, but on the other hand, you never know, there might be a little error at some point that they can take advantage of. Just noticed, by the way, you know, we were talking about the Lamborghini number 37 having, 38 rather, having engine problems, gearbox problems possibly. Marcus Winkelhock just set his own fastest lap, not the fastest lap of the race, but his own personal best. So it can't be that bad.
I don't think so. No, it can't be that bad if he's doing it at this stage of the race for sure. So now it seems a little bit strange that they seem to have a problem. Maybe it's just a problem that's sort of just coming in and then it's sort of okay for a couple of laps and then comes back in. That's a possibility, I guess.
Yeah, always the worst sort of problem in a way. Back on board with Makovic then. Didn't race at Navarra because he had other duties, and his place was taken by Bertrand Baguette, Indy 500 racer, who acquitted himself extremely well in the Ford GT, have to say. Made a couple of lovely moves up into the final hairpin. Gained one place particularly there nicely, but Makovic is a bit of a star of GT1. Whether he was driving for Aston Martin last year or in the Ford this year, he's always exciting to watch. Frenchman on home turf here, of course, at Paul Ricard, so a little bit of honour at stake in trying to get past Jamie Campbell-Walter in the Nissan, and there's still a bit of time in which to do it, so we'll see whether Jamie can withstand the pressure from Makovic. He comes from the southwest of France, in fact, so he's not too far away from Ricard, but he is further west from here. And then behind him we've still got that French run Aston Martin, but at the moment it's Christian Hoenadel who's at the wheel, and the man who won the GT3 championship last year and had victories here at Paul Ricard, hoping to try and gain a few places. But they don't take too many risks at this stage of a qualifying race, because they've probably already got their minds a little bit thinking forward to the championship race tomorrow when the main points are on offer. You can get points for the top positions in this race, down to 6th, you'll get a point, but tomorrow you get points all the way down to 10th and a lot more of them. So a bit silly to really make a gamble at this stage in the qualifying race to gain one place, when on the grid tomorrow you might gain 3 places into the first corner. So you do have to think about that a little bit. So there's your race leader. What's the gap now? It is Michael Crum leading by 3.4.
Yeah, well, the lap times, there seems to be about half a second difference at the moment, so at the moment they just seem to be able to just edge away. Michael's doing a nice consistent job, and Richard can't really do anything about it at the moment.
No, he threw everything he had at it on the outlap, didn't he?
He did.
Very impressive. I couldn't believe he managed to close up as much as he did, but ultimately Michael Crum held on to the lead. There is the 38 Lamborghini. I mentioned a good lap from Winkelhock last time around, not bad this time either, so they've got concerns, but they're still holding on to 9th, and he's actually caught that Corvette a little bit, I think, over the last lap or so. Not much to choose between them in lap time, but you know, Marcus Winkelhock's a fighting driver, as we've seen already. Qualifying this morning, it looked as though, if anything, he was fighting the car a bit too hard, but maybe they've changed the car a little bit, and he's actually going pretty well here.
It seems as if they have, because the car seems to be pretty consistent in the moment. The stability of the car doesn't look so bad from what I've seen, so they've obviously done a little bit of tinkering with the car, and it seems to be paying off at the moment. But
They're not fast in a straight line, as we saw from the speed trap figures, so if you're not, here we are on board with Winkelhock. He's got a good run going. Does he go for it down the inside? He does. Great on the brakes, and yeah, he's got the Corvette. The Corvette is forced to go in really deep. Winkelhock makes the move.
And a good move it was. He sort of had that lovely slipstream, got the drive out onto the Minstrel Straight, and was able to slip by very nicely. A very nice move.
Yeah, and nice smile on Mark Bastain's face. He admired that one. His teammate delivered the goods there. That's gave them another place on the grid for tomorrow's championship race. And Winkelhock putting in, as I say, good set of laps at the moment. Let's take another look at this, Johnny.
Well, just very nicely done. He was comfortably up the inside, ran a little bit wide, but the corner was already his, and was able then to go through that right-hander. This is the actual slipstream. Just gets a nice amount of slipstream, pulls out at the right time, just before the break-in, down the inside, through the gears, no problem. A little bit wide, but no worries at all. That was a bit of a cat and mouse game of who was going to break the last.
Bastain, well impressed with that. A little shake of the head. Okay, now what's going on here? Still this race for 5th. Jamie Campbell-Walter in the white and black Nissan. Fred Makovic on board the Mark VDS Ford GT, punching his way down through the gears. And still tucked in behind them, ready to take advantage, is Christian Hoenadel in the Hexis Aston Martin, as they sweep their way around this unique circuit, the Paul Ricard track, with these bizarre stripy lines everywhere, which are...
Oh, David, run wide now.
Jamie, where are you going? You're not meant to be using that bit of track.
And he's got a little advantage through that.
He has. I mean, he probably won't get done for it, but...
It's not going to make it easier for Fred behind him there.
Didn't gain a place, but he certainly gained a bit of time.
He certainly gained some little comfort. Little comfort. But it seems as if Fred has got a good car underneath him, so I'm sure he's going to be able to close the gap. But that's obviously not going to make it any easier for him, because obviously he's got to work again to close the gap.
So into the chicane, a chicane of one of many. There's well over 100 different layouts of circuit they have here.
Really struggling, it seems. They're sort of straight on him through the corner. The corners there, in this sense, seems to be really, really struggling there, and he doesn't seem to be having the grip that he needs. He's got the speed down the straight once again. That gap goes ahead. Fred's very good through this seam corner here. He doesn't do a shift down. Seems to be able to sort of get a bit of power out. You just see he runs wide there, and he just runs wide, and then decides, right, I'm going to go left here.
Well, it is the advantage of having no gravel traps and just having these highly abrasive blue and red areas, is that if you do get it wrong, you can cut the corner off and you don't find yourself, up to your axles in gravel. But it helped him in that case, didn't it?
It certainly did.
So Makovic, as you said, has sort of closed that gap up fairly quickly again, but whether he can actually then find a way through. So we've got around 6.5 minutes to go, and it's looking as though we're going to have a Nissan 1-2, but it's still a big task here for Jamie Campbell-Walter to hold on to 5th place from the attack behind. Now, also, you've got a possible situation for 2nd here.
I was just looking at screen. It does seem as if Thomas at the moment is... Thomas Eng is closing the gap on Richard Westbrook in front of him.
Yeah, look at
we say.
Gaps have closed up.
It was a big one at the lap 23 there. It was 7/10. It's a hell of an amount there.
Massive gain.
Close that, yeah.
So Enger is bearing down on Richard Westbrook for 2nd position here.
So that's 2 Nissans we can see actually struggling. So we can see Richard's obviously having a bit of a struggle, but we can also see that with Jamie Campbell-Walter a bit further back as well. Seems to be losing speed. So now they've just got to be, it's one of those situations you've just got to really concentrate of not making errors, and if you don't make errors, it's going to make it that much harder for the guys behind to actually overtake you.
That was Mike Hazeman's Corvette in the pits, and it's had troubles from soon after the pit stops. I'm not quite sure what happened, but they dropped well down. They'd made an extra pit stop already. They've now come in for their 3rd pit stop, so whatever's happened to them sadly has meant them out of the running. Because it's a shame, because Andy Zuber was right in the mix with these guys in the top 6 earlier on, wasn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny, we see that split there with Michael Krim and Richard Westbrook, and they're actually about a second a lap different actually in lap times. I think Michael's doing 2:06.0 and Richard is 2:07.3, so there's a big difference and a big drop off from Richard, which is enabling to Thomas to take the fight to Richard, which is going to be fascinating, because it's all going to be down to concentration, consistency and not making mistakes. But Thomas, old fox he is, he'll be putting in as much pressure as he possibly can on Richard.
Yeah, this could be a nice little run to the flag from these two. You do wonder, Michael, of course, Krum, his outlap for the pits didn't seem that hard because the gap was closed up. Westbrook, meanwhile, was on an absolute mighty charge. Krum maybe sort of went out gently on his tyres and then almost miscalculated because Westbrook was so quick he almost got past him. But maybe that initial outlap from Krum was sort of purposefully gentle, I don't know, and he's made the tyres last.
Because it was his sort of following, I think, 2nd or 3rd lap, he actually did then the fastest lap of the race, but of course then the tyres are a little bit more warmed up.
Let's see if we can find any more from Richard's teammate in pit lane.
Peter, it seems that Richard is losing pace out there.
Sorry,
It seems that Richard might be losing pace out there.
Yeah, this is, as I said, all weekend, this is the track that the tyres suffer the most on, and it looks like his pressures are a little bit high now. So it's a thing we need to correct for tomorrow, and hopefully he can hang on in 2nd place and we can get it right tomorrow.
Well, he's certainly going to have to hang on because Enger's even closer. Of course, if he lost the position, it wouldn't be a total disaster. It would be one place back on the grid. He wouldn't be on the front row alongside his teammate, but again, he won't want to lose that opportunity if at all possible. Enger here, he would love to start up front. Of course, winner of the qualifying race at Silverstone and came so close to winning the Tourist Trophy. did Enger and Alex Muller, but only to be denied by Michael Krum and Lucas Luhr in the Nissan. And I think Thomas would like revenge for that one.
And he's definitely going to try, that's for sure. He would never give up. That's one thing he's never done. And I don't think that's going to go away from him.
We've just seen on the screen, the car number 21, that is Jamie Campbell-Walter, has a drive-through penalty. Not sure what it's for yet, but Jamie Campbell-Walter has a drive-through.
Oh, I'm going to guess. I wonder if that was that sort of through the chicane advantage.
Maybe.
Gained, maybe, I don't know.
That would be harsh, though. A drive-through for that would be pretty harsh. And he's actually dropped back behind the Ford. He's already lost a place to the Ford, and he's about to lose a place to the Aston of Hohenadel. So that means that Makovic is up into 5th place now. Jamie Campbell-Walter's been told about the drive-through, so he probably hasn't bothered to fight as hard as he would have done. Let's just see. This was Makovic going past him.
Yeah, I think he's going to slip up the inside there. He's made him go tight, and then and then Fred's got the drive out of that tight right-hand corner and gets in front. So it's a good move there, but obviously Jamie now, he's going to lose a good 20 seconds or so in the pits through that.
It's going to hurt. I mean, it's late in the race, so he's not got everybody bearing down on him, but even so, it's a lot of time to just sort of sit on that speed limiter down the pit lane. Yeah, that's a real shame for them. We've got Westbrook still versus Enger on board with Thomas Enger.
Oh, they were both. Yeah, I thought he was going to run a bit wide there, but he didn't quite do that. But the pressure that he's under now is pretty immense, because when you always know that it's Thomas Enger in the car, it's something that you're going to think, my crikey, you know this guy's not going to give up. Yeah. And he's going to be harassing me for the rest of this race.
But we've not got much time to go. The clock is ticking away, and we are about to get towards the end of this race. Enger getting very close there as he bobbles over the curb. But again, no way through.
Bit too much curb there, I think. That bobble you saw, they made him run a bit wide, and he couldn't get the proper line to get the drive out onto this long straight up to the seam corner here, which is a big fast right-hander. But he gets close to him here. His braking seems to be something that he utilises. There we go, he's getting closer again. He's not going to get up the inside there.
Westbrook's covered the inside, he's made well sure of that.
Yeah. Now there is a chance here. I don't think he's got enough drive there, but there is a chance now. Richard just held enough.
What was that? Gear up, gear down.
I don't know what it was.
That was a slightly odd one there, but Enger's really throwing himself into this tussle with Richard Westbrook.
Well, I think what he needs to do is actually get from that chicane in that Minstrel straight. If he can get the drive out, and then he will actually get the drive up the straight through Seam. He seems to be very good under braking into that Basak corner, the double right-hander, and then from that he might get an opportunity, and this is his final lap to try.
Yep, so up front it's Michael Krum heading for victory with an 8.3 second lead over this battle for second between Richard Westbrook and Thomas Enger, two wily campaigners. Now Jamie Campbell-Walter, has he done his drive-through yet? I'm not sure he has, actually.
He hasn't.
That's a bit odd. So, I mean, if it is in the last stages of the race, they can add a time penalty instead.
Yeah.
So
he might do a drive-through on this lap, you say?
Well, it might do, yeah, sometimes. I'm not sure if they're...
I do remember Michael Schumacher doing that.
Exactly, yeah.
I do remember a certain Nigel was there as well.
I thought that loophole was closed after that, but we'll find out.
Well, yeah, it's a bit risky doing what he's doing there.
Yeah, he stayed out at the moment. Hohenadel still in 7th. Winkelhock is in 8th place, just to remind you, in the Lamborghini. Here comes Enger then. This is a last chance, perhaps. Or is it the next run out of the chicane and up towards Seam that will be his last chance?
He's going to be out of the shade. He doesn't want to hit that curve. That's better.
He's on the inside! Wow!
What a lovely move. Typical Thomas, somewhere where you wouldn't expect it.
Wow!
Oh, brilliant.
Awesome.
Brilliant.
Off the brakes, he just rolled it in alongside. There was nothing Westbrook could do about that.
I love him for that. That's what he's like. He just doesn't give up. He's in a good position now because, although Richard's close to him, he's not quick enough around this part of the circuit.
There is our race leader, though. It's Michael Krum. An amazing pit stop on his car. Not quite the fastest of all, but it was 3 seconds faster than they managed on the number 22 car. That's what got him in front. He was ever so careful on his outlap, as if he knew he had to protect his tyres. Whether that was the reason or not, he just fended off Westbrook, and ever since then, his tyres have lasted the distance. He has been able to lap consistently fast, and in fact for the first time this year, they might have won a championship race, but it's the first time this year they've won a qualifying race. Lucas Lohr and Michael Krum take victory in the qualifying race here at Paul Ricard. They earn themselves pole position for tomorrow, and Westbrook's lost another place. Aston's finished second and third.
Wow.
Westbrook finishes in fourth. And don't worry about the Corvette, that was a lap down, several laps down anyway. Fifth place goes to the Ford of Makovic, and drive-through on the last lap. You're right, for Jamie Campbell-Walter, but it means Hohenadel sixth. Seventh will go to Winkelhock with the Lamborghini that was struggling. Eighth goes to Engelbert and Rossi, and ninth, I think, with the drive-through, will have gone to Jamie Campbell-Walter and David Brabham. And Jans Stubel there of Young Driver. He is so pleased to have got second and third. The owner of the Young Driver team, he's got his beautiful Aston Martin 177 here this weekend as well. Well, he is delighted to see that his team have brought home a second and third places in the qualifying race. But I tell you what an accomplished performance it was by Lucas Lohr and Michael Krum, despite the pressure from their teammates.
Absolutely, and I think it was a lovely, lovely calculated drive. No errors, paced it beautifully, very, very, very consistent, and that's what made him win the race.
Yeah, there's Jan congratulating his driver, Alex Muller, with Thomas Engert. What a move!
That was brilliant.
I want to see that one again if possible.
I do. Well, I think what happened actually, I think the move was brilliant, but I think what it did help was actually then the Aston Martin behind, because then he had the drive up the straight and was close enough, I reckon, through Seen corner, and then out-braked him into that Bassett corner, that double right-hander. I reckon that's where it did. So actually he benefited himself and a fellow Aston Martin as well.
There was no doubt that Westbrook was struggling for grip, though. I mean, that car was getting slower and slower. I mean,
well, we saw that with Jamie as well. So obviously we saw that they were struggling. But
last lap,
oh no. Well, as I said, Thomas will never ever give up. He would have even tried that for sure on the last corner, because it would have been an opportunity that he knows that is very, very possible. But to do that was just brilliant, because I think I wasn't expecting it, you wasn't expecting it, and I don't think Richard was either. That was just what he's very, very good at.
That was a real opportunist, but really clever.
Beautifully done. And he wasn't bad. He didn't drive in the side of him. Brilliant.
Let's take a look at this.
There we go.
Here we go.
Oh, wonderful. So he's gone so wide here, you see. Now the Aston there is behind. He's trying to get back on track.
This is the onboard view. This was afterwards. And Westbrook going, what are you doing?
I thought that would have been a congratulations.
Well, I suppose Westbrook felt he had to get out of the way there.
Well,
but,
that's part of it. That's right. He didn't drive in the side of it.
No, it was the last lap, and it was
opportunity. He took it. Richard did very well not turning into him, because they could have taken them both out of the race. But at the end of the day, that's racing, isn't it, Ben? That's what it's all about.
That's right, he went for it, and he got the place. Lucas Lohr, though, has got the win with his teammate Michael Krum. Goes over and congratulates Darren Turner. Darren Turner's smiling because he's got a podium out of this, which he wasn't expecting at all until that last lap. But Richard Westbrook, who was really struggling, and then Enger just slotted it down the inside. It was a risky manoeuvre. Westbrook saw it, though. It was a great pass. And there's Michael Krum to come over and cuddle his co-driver after they've delivered a very, very good victory here. And that gives them all-important pole position for tomorrow, where they could be on target for their second win of the season. And there is Muller to congratulate Enger's move at the end there, and the team, look at him, they're loving it. I mean, the team always respond when a driver pulls off a manoeuvre like that and makes it work without damaging the car. Suddenly he goes a hero.
Absolutely, he deserves to be a hero.
Oh, it's lovely. Really, really great move, that. And Michael Krum,
good drive by those guys, I have to say. Very calculated, very shrewd, fantastic pit stop. Got them the lead, but then utilised it once they got in the lead, and they just drove away. Yeah,
they did. In the latter stages, they had the grip. They were still putting in quick lap times, even in the last few laps. Whereas Westbrook and, as you say, Jamie Campbell-Walter, they were both really struggling to get that sort of performance. And Stefan Nooker, well, he's ended up with a third place finish out of it as well. So all came about really in the last few laps, but an entertaining qualifying race. Even though it was sort of dominated in the latter stages by Krum and Lohr. Westbrook and Dunbrecht fought hard in the early part of the race, that's for sure. They had the lead going into the pit stops. but it went wrong for them with a slightly slower pit stop, and that basically then determined the outcome of the race. So young driver Aston Martin, who've had a little bit of a tough season, but they've certainly delivered here today, but winning the race, Lucas Law and Michael Krum.
Michael, after a storming pit stop from the team, this is a fantastic result.
Yeah, this is, for me, it's the best win for the GTR, the most exciting win for Lucas and me, I think. Because we had to work really hard for this, and as you've seen, there's absolutely no team orders going on, and it's like, it was, Lucas' drive was amazing when the other guys pitted, and Lucas just banged down fast laps, and that enabled me to come out in the lead. And I mean, thank you so much to the team. The GTR today ran just unbelievable.
And Lucas, another safe and fair battle, and what exciting racing it was.
Yeah, it was good. I mean, I had fun with Richard a couple of laps, and Peter, yeah. And no, I think everything worked out well. Our car handles brilliant throughout the stint, and yeah, now we have a different and very difficult task for tomorrow, because, I mean, let's face it, a win today is nice, but what we really want is to win tomorrow.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's when the 25 points are on offer. But let's take another look at how second place, this was the battle going on between the two Nissans. This was Michael Krum, and this was the moment that actually Westbrook was ahead. He was ahead in the race of the other one, and then through went Krum on the inside. So in the end, the second place went to Enger and Muller, and I think Haley is about to catch up with them.
Congratulations, Thomas. After coming into the weekend with low expectations, this is quite a result.
Well, yeah, thanks to the team, we've done great pit stop. We were able to catch up the Nissans after the pit stop. Alex did a great job to hang on to them. Obviously, third place after the start, and then it was the Nissan was struggling. I think it was Richard in the car at that moment, and he was struggling with the tires the last 5 laps, and it was just a matter of finding the right spot to overtake him, because obviously I'm faster out of the corner, but that car has 30 horsepower more, and you can't overtake him on the straight or on the braking. So you just need to do something like I did in the chicane, and it worked. So we got great position for tomorrow's race. So let's hope we can swap the positions with Lucas and Michael like they did with us in Silverstone race.
And Alex, congratulations. The challenge is now on tomorrow for the championship race.
Yes, of course, thank you. Yes, as Thomas said, he did a great passing maneuver in the last lap. It was good. So first line, and as he said, hopefully we can swap places like in Silverstone.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, I said they were out for revenge for that defeat in the Tourist Trophy, and that's certainly on their minds as well. Look at this once again, Johnny.
Yeah, well, you can see he really goes into the braking zone very, very late and just carries that speed and just throws it down the inside. Just a lovely move. Yeah. Good for Rich, I have to say. It was good stuff by Rich. Unfortunately, he lost out a little bit because the following Aston Martin, I think, was able to overtake him in the next corner or two. And there it is. You just hear the engine, it's roaring, he's just gone for it. And it's just lovely. Yeah, a little bit wide, but that's okay for me. I think that was just a wonderful racing manoeuvre. And typically it was Thomas who does it.
And he made the point that, you know, he had to do something like that if he was going to get past, because he was never going to do it at the end of the straight. Let's get down to the third place finishers now.
Congratulations, Stefan. You stole it in the last few seconds.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, I had quite a lot of problems with the front, so a lot of understeer. But at the end, Thomas was ahead of me and got the Nissan in the last corner, or in the last lap, and I was able to do the same. Richard left the door quite a lot open for the second last left-hander, and I just outbraked him. It was a nice move, and yeah, for sure, I'm happy. Second row for tomorrow, so everything is all right.
Darren, is this a good surprise, and do you think you can do this tomorrow?
I hope so. I mean, we're fifth on the grid, got up to third in the race, so yeah, good step in the right direction for tomorrow. And it's just nice to be competitive up here against the Nissans with a power circuit like this. So no, should make for a good race tomorrow.
Thank you.
Yeah, we will have a race in our hands. There's no doubt about it between Nissan and Aston Martin. Looking at the way they've gone today, Nissan might have come out on top, but then it's Aston Martin second and third, and Nissan fourth. Confirmation of that result then, it is the JR Motorsports Nissan of Michael Krum and Lucas Law that take victory comfortably in the end by over 8 seconds but a last lap lunge from Thomas Enger has earned him second place for the young driver Aston, and his teammate Stefan Mucker followed him through to take the final podium spot. Westbrook, having led the race with Dumbreck in the early stages, they finished fourth, and a good fifth place for Makovic and Martin in their Ford GT. Fastest pit stop and sixth place went to Hohenadel and Piccini in the Hexus Aston Martin, and the Lamborghini that led the championship, Winkelhock and Basseng, just outside the points, whereas their big rivals did score points, so nonetheless they've still got a decent grid position for tomorrow. Engelbert and Rossi finished in 8th place ahead of the Nissan of Jamie Campbell-Walter and David Brabham, who had a drive-through right at the end, followed by Katzberg and Bernoldi in their Nissan. 11th place went to the Corvette of Hazemans and Zuber, but they had all sorts of problems and they were well down in the end, and also out of it were Pastorelli and Dominic Schwager. They had engine troubles. Other cars that didn't make it to the finish, 3 of the Fords, I'm afraid, the 2 Belgian cars and the Mark Henrici and Bas Linders car. And also crashing out in the early stages was the Hexus Aston Martin of Stef Dusseldorf. So as the guys make their way up towards the podium, we'll see those podium celebrations in just a moment or two. And of course we've still got the championship race to come here at Paul Ricard on Sunday. See whether Krum and Law are going to be able to do that. Let's just take a look and see if we can work out what happened to Richard Westbrook in terms of Stefan Mucker. Now remember, bit of history between those two, looking back at Silverstone, of course.
So that wasn't, he didn't go up the side of Thomas in that last after the checker flag, obviously. He was up the, so he's wide, you can see how wide he is. He's very wide. He did leave the door open.
It's a hefty thump.
Hefty thump.
Mucker comes through.
Kiss.
Yeah.
Yes.
When you think of what happened at Silverstone, the fact that Stefan Mucker kept his licence, but it was all a bit marginal with the incident at Silverstone when he swiped Richard Westbrook down the Hangar Straight. And it's interesting that the two of them have shared blows once again.
But Richard was very wide there, I think.
Yeah. So there was an open door, going into the corner. So let's take a look at some of the highlights of what has been an entertaining qualifying race here at Paul Ricard. Conditions have been just about ideal, a lot of work and thought going into the race plan from teams. The 2 Nissans started together on the front row of the grid, and Peter Dumbreck had the initial advantage over Lucas Law as they turned into the first corner. Alex Muller slotted the Aston Martin up into 3rd place, but there was a bit of bumping and boring as expected through the first couple of corners, and then this incident, Henrici running into Bernoldi, taking out Jan Claret in the number 10 Ford at the same time, and Henrici's race was pretty much over as a result of all that. Nevertheless, everybody else seemed to make it around on the opening lap, and as they jostled for position up front, this was the accident. We only just saw it start to go. That was Stef Dusseldorf crashing out in his Hexus Aston Martin, made heavy contact. Safety car was brought out, then was withdrawn to the pits, and we saw the pit stops then taking place, and some pretty quick changes, particularly from the Nissan of JRM for Michael Krum and Lucas Law. Richard Westbrook took over from Peter Dumbreck. There was a slight delay there as they tried to get going. There was no delay at all on the number 23 car when it came in, and there was still a good race going on for the number 21. This was 23 then coming out as Michael Krum came out, and he had a big advantage over Richard Westbrook. Now the amazing thing was that Westbrook was able to close up that gap over the rest of the lap, as Krum appeared to be very cautious on his outlap, perhaps on purpose to look after the tyres, and it meant that Westbrook really went on the attack and for a moment actually got in front across the line there, but it wasn't to last because Krum had the inside line, was composed and comfortable. Now this was a moment for Thomas Enger towards the end of the race. He gathered that one and it caused a smile for David Brabham, but it wasn't all over for him, as meanwhile Jamie Campbell-Walter was on the attack, and that was in fact the move of Marcus Winkelhock to take the position. Second place though was gained by Thomas Enger just on the last lap, getting past Richard Westbrook. Westbrook didn't seem too impressed, but the Astons, or that maybe that was to Stefan Mucker he was actually making that gesture to. So those are the highlights of the qualifying race. We'll see you for the championship race again tomorrow.